Alright, the Lucifer finale, but first I want to thank the sponsor of this video. This video is brought to you by Scentbird. Scentbird's a fragrance subscription that gives you the opportunity to shop from over 600 brands. They hooked me up with Homage Journeyman, Dolce & Gabbana K, as well as Dolce & Gabbana The One for Men. What does The One for Men smell like? Here we go. Smelling great. Actually, you know what? It's fitting it's in a silver vial, because I'm going to call it Silver Fox. I'm going to call it Stephen Strange. There it is. It's a solid amount, too. I mean, it's not just like a sample, it's a sample. This is a nice mix between quantity and quality. You get the best of both worlds. Also, good news for my Canadian subscribers. Scentbird's expanding from the US only to also Canada. We can all smell good while we stay home and game. So click the link below. Be sure to use my promo code JJ for 30% off your first month. That's 11 bucks for your first month. Also, haven't been called JJ since kindergarten. And now this comment section. And now forever. And thank you once again to Scentbird for sponsoring this video. I do appreciate it. And now it's done. We've concluded this devilishly good time. I'm gonna miss it. If for nothing else, definitely for that theme song. So Lucifer is a show that was canceled after season 3. Then Netflix put on their cape. They swooped in and they saved the day. They picked Lucifer up and we got 6 full seasons. First, a little recap of my thoughts about Lucifer as a whole. At least when it started out, Lucifer was the living embodiment of benefit of the doubt. Because right when it came out through season 1, its benefit of the doubt is what kept it going. Well, that and Tom Ellis. Let's face it, let's be real. Tom Ellis' screen presence and charisma as the character Lucifer Morningstar definitely got it picked up for season 2. If you're not gonna respect the man crush going on here, at least recognize the objective fact the dude just oozes on-screen personality, on-screen presence, charisma. But in season 1, I don't feel like I'm alone. It was more about what the show could be if they kept it going. And I'm glad they did, because we saw a lot of that. We saw a lot of it come to pass, come to fruition. All this is to say, I've really enjoyed my time with the show Lucifer. First of all, right out the gate, I'm gonna warn you, there's gonna be some spoiler-ish things in here. Not gonna break it down play by play. I'm not gonna be like, hey, by the way, the end is this. Not gonna do that. But there are some things where I was like, I didn't see that in any of the promotional material, so I don't know if it is. Maybe it's not that spoiler-ish, but you know, there's a character in here I wanna talk about, and it's kind of important. It's the plot of season 6 as a whole. So where the last season left off, this whole fight happens with Lucifer and Michael, a bunch of angels siding with Michael or Lucifer, and Lucifer wins, and all right, now he's gonna be God. Which immediately worried me. I didn't want Lucifer to be God. I like Lucifer being Lucifer. I like him being the devil. So I was really worried about this season. But luckily, in this season, it doesn't start out there. It's like, oh no, he's not God yet. He hasn't ascended the throne, and there are other things to deal with.
Maybe he doesn't want to go in half-cocked.
I should definitely be full-cocked.
Of those things to sort out, a new character comes on the scene, played by Brianna Hildebrand, who is Lucifer's daughter from the future. Which, saying it out loud, I'm like, yeah, did you guys get that? Like, okay, so it's a season of The Flash, essentially, because it's very CW Flash. That was my initial thought when she first came on the scene, but they do enough for it to actually work for Lucifer's character, her character, Chloe's character, because she's also Chloe's daughter. Because the show's always been about family, and more specifically, relationships with people. That's not to say specifically romantic relationships, just relationships, you know? The show does a good job at having the show be a mirror of human interaction in the world, as it should be. Romantic relationships, sibling relationships, father-son relationship, and conflict. And although we've seen father-son conflict between Lucifer and God, we haven't seen daughter-father conflict when her father is the son in the father-son conflict that we already saw. It does its part to keep it feeling fresh enough to where you're like, oh, it's not a complete rehash. And there's the allegory of like, you know, everyone always says, hey, I'm not gonna be like my parents. And then guess what happens? Right. Don't want to spoil the ending of that story of life, but where you think it might go is very well where it might go. But on the other side of that, there's the more interesting conversation of like, well, what was the intent behind the parental decisions that led to that angst? Also, they did a neat thing with Dan, because in the previous season, Dan got killed, which it's not the fact that he got killed, it's the fact that he's in hell. I'm like, dude, if Dan's going to hell, where am I going? Dude, in the lore of the show, it's like what sends you to hell is your guilt, which doesn't seem too smart. It's like, you mean if psychopaths kill people and don't feel guilt, they don't go to hell, they get to go to heaven? That doesn't seem like an airtight system. So Dan's back on Earth, but kind of like Patrick Swayze from Ghost, only angels and demons, celestial beings, they can see and hear him. So I thought that was pretty clever in terms of Dan working stuff out for himself. And also, he's that fly on the wall. He gets to see and hear everything and no one even knows. Linda remains the smartest person in the show. She's the one's like, she's just shaking her head the entire time like, I can't believe it. How are angels and demons every bit as stupid as human beings? Every psychologist, psychiatrist, and therapist out there, do you ever think to yourself, like, I should have been a veterinarian? One would think you do. I don't know, as I thought I have. Once in a while, I'm like, man, I don't know how you do it, but you do. Thank you for that. Not everything flows so smoothly. There are some things thrown into this season where I'm like, did you have a bigger plan? But this was your final season? I would use that excuse, but this is season 6. I mean, the Goldilocks zone, like the threading the needle, the peak amount of seasons for a show. I know 6 seasons in a movie, that's the joke. But Star Trek The Next Generation showed me 7 seasons is more or less, that's peak success. So in season 6, when you bring in Adam just to have him there for a bit, and it's like, okay, now we had Adam as in Adam and Eve Adam. Well, you don't do much with him. It just seems like a waste. Like, did you want to bring him in later? In what, season 8? That wasn't going to happen for Lucifer. You could have done some interesting stuff, but he gets brought in to be a complete and total oob nozzle who's there to learn a few lessons about how not to be a misogynistic asshole. It's like, okay, I learned my lessons. Great. I don't know. It feels like he was shoehorned into this season because they had to have that lesson in there, but he stands out as that thing is like, hey, what doesn't entirely fit him? They do a neat thing with Ella Lopez in this season, which again, showing that she's one of the more complex characters in the entire show. They did a thing last season where it's like, you mean you have serial killer tendencies? And they don't do anything else with that. It's just, okay, I guess she has serial killer tendencies. I guess they just kind of breezed past that. Thank you for throwing those Dexter vibes at me for a hot second. But in this season, they go a direction that I'm glad they went. It being the final season, I didn't feel like there was anything to lose. Only things to gain with her character going this direction. I liked it. Chloe's the character where for years they've been trying to figure out what to do with her because she's Lucifer's love interest for the first 3 years, 3 seasons. The whole like, oh, will they, won't they? Is she going to figure out that he's the devil? Is she not? And when Netflix took over, well, actually at the end of the season, right before it was canceled, then Netflix took over, she saw his devil face. Then after that, it's like, okay, sweet. That now she knows. And even after that, I was like, all right, so she's Lucifer's love interest. But do they really know what to do with her? But in this final season, she had a couple of moments, a couple of really emotional moments that come from the fact that she's dealing with her daughter that's here from the future. Again, saying it out loud just sounds ridiculous for the show because everything's time travel now. I guess that's been opened up. When in doubt, time travel. Whether it's her and her daughter or her and Dan is there, but she can't see Dan. She has a couple of moments where they bring the emotion to her character. And even by the end of the show, I had this feeling of fulfillment. Like fulfillment with her character. The show was dangerously close as it was wrapping up in the final season, in season 6, like near the end. I was like, we're at the end game. And I might not be fulfilled with this show. But when it came to Lucifer's character, Chloe's character, who's going to take over heaven as God, all of that, when it wrapped up, I had this really rare feeling of fulfillment. Not a lot of shows give me that. Not a lot of shows give anyone that. Think of how many shows dropped the ball in the last season. Exactly. There are a lot of shows out there that just like, I guess the weight of it all is just too heavy. But with Lucifer, it always felt like the writers, the cast, the crew, everybody involved in production, they all appreciated the time they had. They didn't take it for granted. They were never on top of Mount Olympus here. Like, you know, we're looking down on all the other shows like, yep, it's our world, and so we can do no wrong. That hubris makes it all crumble down like a house of cards or something. It never felt like that. It always felt like they wanted to do right by the characters and the fans. And when they weren't doing right by a character, they really tried their best to make that character work. And in the case with Chloe, a character I didn't always connect with and felt like, okay, it's Lucifer's show and his girlfriend. I felt like by the end of this show, there was a huge feeling of fulfillment where I'm like, oh yeah, Chloe's very important. In fact, she carries a lot on her shoulders. The show didn't always give me that feeling with her character, but I'm glad it left me with that feeling with her character. And in the end, the final season of Lucifer, I really enjoyed. I had a blast with. It's one of those seasons that I can point to and be like, that is the reason I enjoy the show Lucifer. And as much as I can safely say that some of my favorite moments in the show were when Lucifer was being his devilishly hedonistic self and enjoying doing so, I am undeniably fulfilled in their 6-season long game lesson with his character, which is if the devil can grow, any of us can. If you haven't checked out the show, I absolutely recommend it. If your only litmus test for the show Lucifer is the first season, you were like, not for me. It is the rockiest. If someone was like, yeah, season 1 didn't grab me, I'd be like, I get it. Season 3 had some good stuff, but I really felt like the show found its energy and found its stride in season 4 when Netflix took over. I mean, many shows out there entertain. Not very many shows actually stick the landing of the wrap-up, of the conclusion, the finale. Leave you feeling fulfilled. I'll always love Lucifer for that. And the years of entertainment. All right, so Lucifer, have you seen it? What did you think about it? What's your favorite season of the show at all? Whatever it is, whatever you think, comment below, let me know. And as always, if you like what you've seen here and you want to see more, click right here to see more.